Guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the worst mistakes that I've seen farmers make. Why? Because I've personally done a lot of farming. I've also visited a lot of farmers, and I see a lot of farmers make these mistakes, and I would call a lot of them rookie mistakes, because once you've been in it for a while and you're actually intentional about understanding how the whole farming business works and how the farm runs, it's quite easy for you to understand that, some of these things are very easily and readily available. So I'm going to hope that by the end of this video, you will have identified these 5 mistakes, identified if they are present on your farm or not, and hopefully prevent them in the future. So stick around right through to the very end if that's you. Mistake number 1 is putting too much trust in cameras. So I do have cameras on the farm. It might be quite hard for you guys to see, but there is actually one right there. It's certainly going to be much hard for you to see, but there is one right there seeing me at the moment, and I do have quite a number of cameras around on the farm. So a lot of times I'm talking to people and they're like, how do you prevent theft on your farm? And I'll give them tips and things like that, and they're like, how about cameras? And they're like, whoa, I installed cameras on my farm, I'm hoping it's going to stop the theft. And I'm thinking in my head, whoa, I wish you knew. So you see, the thing about cameras is that they work in retrospect, like the biggest percentage of it, because just to be honest, first of all, you're not going to sit down on your phone, maybe if it's because I can check the cameras on my phone. So you're going to sit down on your phone the entire day watching the guys and seeing what's happening on the farm. So that's the first thing. So even if they decided to rob the farm, if they decided to steal all the chickens and carry them and take them away, most probably the highest likelihood is that by the time it does happen, you're not going to be on your phone watching. So they can literally rob them with everything, unless there's someone seated down on the cameras and watching the cameras 24/7. If it's not that, then most likely it's not going to have that protective aspect of it. But number 2, for the cameras to be useful, first of all, it is very easy for you to even be watching and not understand what's happening. So for example, I could be watching, like you guys, for example, you're on camera, you're watching me. While I'm talking, someone could pass behind me and move from this side and go the other side. You're just seeing someone pass, you don't know why they are going to there, you don't know what they are going to do there. They could be carrying eggs in their overall, maybe 20 or 30 eggs placed in their overall, and they'll just pass by and go that side. You don't know. They know where the blind spots in the cameras are, so you're not going to place cameras at every point on the farm. They certainly might be able to tell where the blind spots are. It's easy for people to bypass cameras. So then, putting too much trust in cameras is actually not a great idea. Like I said, they are great in retrospect. So for example, the first example we talked about where the guys come and carry everything and take it away. It's easy if you do have cameras to say that, oh, so my workers actually connived and stole everything. I can see, this is proof. But the damage will already be done. You won't stop it or something like that. Also, I do remember there's a time that I had a theft. A guy came onto the farm and carried jerry cans and things like that and took them away. I could see on the camera that someone came in and took the things, but I didn't prevent it from happening. So cameras, when it does come to preventing theft, work in connection with all the other systems that you do or that you have around on the farm in preventing theft. But just relying on cameras to prevent theft is certainly not going to help you. Like I said, it will work a lot in retrospect, but in terms of active management, it's not going to help you. Of course, it can help you in terms of seeing what activities on the farm, what the guys are doing around. But again, a lot of it is going to be circumstantial. Mistake number 2 is not recording expenses. And forget about expenses, generally not taking records on the farm. But this is very, very common when it does come to expenses. Of course, even with other things, it's quite common. But it is very common for farmers to not actually record expenses because they feel like, first of all, they are small expenses. Sometimes they feel like, well, does it really matter? I'm putting in money, I'm getting money out. For example, for me, I could hire people to help me, mow the lawn, all the little tiny things that do happen around on the farm. Now, if you don't record your expenses on the farm, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually understand where the problems are on the farm, and for you to understand where you can actually make savings on the farm. The easiest way for you to understand how to bring down the cost of production on your farm is simply by looking at your expenses. You just look at your expenses, look at the things you're spending on, and then understand that, well, I think I really don't need to spend on this. Or, for example, I can find an alternative to this kind of spending that is probably much cheaper and much more efficient. For example, if I'm spending $10,000 on feed, I'm like, how can I bring my feed cost down from $10,000 to $9,000? That's an extra $1,000 that I could be saving. But for you to do that, you need to actually understand that you're spending $10,000 on the farm. And in terms of breakdown, where are you spending the biggest percentage? Maybe 60% of your expenses maize. You're like, okay, I really need to put in effort to ensure that I reduce my expenses of maize. So maybe I need to work on getting better storage on the farm, maybe buying the maize when the price is lower, maybe planting maize because I have, a lot of land where I can actually plant maize. These are the things that you actually do need to consider. So if you don't do that, it will be very difficult for you. And you'll just consistently run losses. And even if you're not running losses, your farm won't be efficient because you just don't know where to pay attention to, what to pay attention to ensure that you minimize your expenses on the farm. So number 2, make sure that you note down each and every expense on your farm. Number 3 is leaving other people to deal with the sales. Now I'll tell you something. For some reason, farmers are not lazy people because, running a farm is really a difficult thing. Yeah, setting up a farm and running it and managing it is really a difficult thing. It's not for the faint-hearted. It requires a lot of commitment. It requires a lot of focus. It requires, it's a lot of active involvement, especially if you're doing animal husbandry. So if you're doing, cattle, chickens, goats, sheep, piggery, all those kinds of things. It's a lot of activity, especially now if you're doing chickens. Yeah, it's even worse when it does come to chickens because there's a lot of physical involvement. It's collecting eggs, it's doing this, it's maintaining the place to make sure that you don't have a lot of grass growing around the place, slashing the place, giving the birds feed, raking the manure. It's a lot of activities. So it's not easy for someone to do. The one thing I've never understood though is that when it does come to the point of selling, a lot of the farmers then go passive. Yeah. So for me, for example, right here, I'm producing about 200 and something trays a day, maybe 270 trays a day. So it doesn't make sense to me for you to produce 270 trays a day and not pay attention on how you can maximize your profits in terms of selling. Yeah. So it's quite common for people to, let's say, produce 270 trays a day, and then after that they'll just come and sit down on the farm or in the house and just wait for someone to come and buy the eggs. Then they start complaining that the market is really bad, I can't get customers, I can't get what. When they are selling their eggs really cheaply, they are selling their eggs to middlemen. You'll find someone, they have invested like $100,000 on a farm, $200,000 on a farm. But when it does come to selling, they're not willing to invest even anything. They just want to sit down and hope that the client is going to come to them. They're not willing to invest into transportation of the product to the customers. They're not willing to invest into any form of value addition. They're just not willing to invest at all. And because of that, the middlemen come and hit them terribly, very, very terribly. Yeah. So I don't know. For some reason, a lot of farmers are very passive when it comes to selling. Very, very passive. Yet if the farm doesn't have sales, everything else you're doing is useless. Yeah. So not focusing on selling and leaving selling up to middlemen and other people is also another big common mistake that I see farmers make, and that leads to consistent failures of the farm. So if you do have a farm, it's very, very important that you actually focus on your selling so that you have the best results. Mistake number 4 is starting too big and trying to grow too fast. So when you're starting a farm, of course, you know nothing. It's very understandable. You know nothing. Just like everyone who is starting any other business, they know nothing. But the biggest mistake you can actually make is starting too big. So I understand that you feel like you've learned enough. You've come to Dr. Daniel's YouTube channel. You've watched a lot of his video. You've probably even attended the Farm Up Academy. You've paid. You've joined the Farm Up Academy. You've got this top-level knowledge. The best knowledge that you could ever get about starting a poultry farm. And then you're like, okay, I'm now ready. Let's get into it. So you go outside there and like, I'm going to start my farm with 20,000 chickens. Whoa, what a mistake you could be making. So I'm really not the kind of person who advises people to start farms by, starting too big. It's just not a good idea. Don't start too big because there are a lot of things which can only be learned through experience. Yeah. Dealing with people, dealing with the workers on the farm, dealing with the market. Despite the fact that you're certain that there's market in your area, you need to test out the market. Yeah, and especially when you're starting out, I've seen this with a lot of farmers because I help a lot of farmers. I always advise them to scale up based on demand. Yeah, so you could go in a particular place and there's actually a market cap on that demand. Maybe the most that you might need to produce in that area is 5,000 chickens. More than that, you're going to be in trouble. Yeah, so then you come and start with 8,000 chickens. You're going to be in trouble. You won't be able to sell everything very properly. So you need to make sure that you start slowly, simply for you to learn. Start slowly and grow gradually. I understand that you want to grow fast. I understand that you want to make money. I understand that you want to be rich. Now, of course, I understand that considering life is short, how about I just grow too quickly? No, you actually don't need as much money as you think you do. I mean, a lot of times it's just greed. And if we could just sit down and understand that, we can actually make enough and grow slowly, grow comfortably, a lot of times it makes more sense, yeah? So a lot of farmers actually go outside there and start too quickly, start too big, and try to grow too quickly for their own good. So the farm starts expanding and then it starts failing. Yeah, the farm just starts failing. They start making losses because they just haven't figured it out very well. They haven't figured out the hiring. They haven't figured out the market. They haven't figured out the diseases. They just haven't figured out everything. So it's really important that you start slowly and grow gradually. Yeah, that's going to ensure that you minimize your risk, and as you grow, literally the farm is going to ask you for growth, just like me. Yeah, the farm keeps asking me to, hey, expand me, hey, expand me, hey, expand me, because of the demand in the market. But if the farm is not asking you, then why should you just expand too quickly? Yeah, so don't grow too fast, don't start too big. Finally, number 5 is copying others. Yeah, now I've seen this a lot in my country, where someone starts a particular farming business in a particular area, let's say a poultry farm or a goat farm, or they start growing tomatoes. Yeah, so someone will start growing tomatoes in a particular area, and then everyone else in the area is like, whoa, David has started growing tomatoes. It looks like David is making a lot of money. I mean, people are just coming and picking off his tomatoes. I'm also going to start growing tomatoes. Now, there is nothing wrong with copying. In fact, almost everything in life comes from copying. There are very few people who come up with original things, something from scratch. So there's nothing wrong with copying, but you need to understand the circumstances under which you're copying. Yeah. So have you understood how much money David has? Have you understood how much research David has done? Have you understood how much risk David is able to bear before he gives up? David might have way more money that he's able to bear losses for a year before he does anything, and he's actually working in losses. But I mean, for him, it doesn't matter at that point, because he's willing to put in more money and continue, producing this product until a particular time T when the farm will turn profitable. Now, you just come from outside there with your excitement. You just start, growing tomatoes and everything, and then before you know it, you're actually making losses, and you're like, whoa, David, I think, is actually making losses. Oh, how is David able to maintain this thing? You understand? So copying is not a problem, but you need to understand the circumstances. You need to understand what exactly you're diving into. You need to understand the demand in the area. You need to understand the technicalities of raising or growing what you're growing. Don't just go outside there because everyone else is doing it. Yeah? You need to understand the sacrifices you need to make. Yeah? Some of these businesses, you actually need to make sacrifices. What sacrifices do you need to make? How do you deal with these sacrifices? If you understand how to do that and how to deal with that, you're going to make a lot of money. A lot of money. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell. Catch you very soon with another video. Lots of love. Bye-bye.